Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to askNK. Today we're taking a look at a couple of nice things happening within the Blender community and of course a cool new set of updates that we've gotten for Blender 5. And these are some of the things that were teased during the Blender conference, and for those who would like to catch up on that, I'm going to put a link in the description. Now before we get started, the SuperHive sale is currently ongoing and this is running out pretty soon, and it's offering 25% on a ton of tools. So if there's any tool that you like to get on SuperHive right now, you can simply come through and grab the Y offer last, as this costs through add-ons, models, surfacing tools, modifier setups, render setups, and also tutorials. Links to a lot of this is going to be in the description, so do well to check them out. Now with that said, let's actually start off with something that I think a lot of you guys may have heard about, and it's the fact that Ton Rosendale is stepping down as both the chairman and CEO of Blender. Now this is something that is coming with a couple of mixed reaction owing to the fact that Ton has dedicated his life and literally everything he's got to give us a free tool that everyone is using, and that is the reason why we can actually talk about it today. Ton Rosendale has gone far and beyond to make open source a thing, especially for 3D creators, and I would like to say that this man is a legend, whether we like it or not. I've personally met him one of those times and he was absolutely amazing. He was warm, receptive, and we had a wonderful conversation about a couple of things that had to do with both the trade, the 3D community, projects that were ongoing at the time, and I did personally get a tiny souvenir from him as well. The team was very receptive, and it is amazing to see that he's passing the torch to an amazing team with Francesco Seed leading the charter. And Francesco Seed is another amazing person. He lives, breathes, and actually embodies Blender as much as you can see with Ton, and with Ton taking him as the next in line to actually head Blender as both chairman and CEO is a wonderful step in a wonderful direction. And during the announcement, which happened the first day of the Blender conference, Francesco Seed has also talked about the direction that Blender will be moving going forward, with some highlights and key point mentions of his vision for Blender.
There is an overlap between my interests and also Ton's, and I want to spell it out in a couple of words. Design useful and usable tools, creating experiences that improve our life. Technology should be open and accessible, and both these two things, they should serve people. And which is the most important thing, and bringing people together to achieve something bigger than ourselves. There is one more topic that I love, and storytelling takes many forms. Keeping focus on this is really key for Blender's relevance and success. I really want to pursue new ambitious challenges here, especially with the Blender Studio team, and this is something to discuss in the coming months. Goals for the future, the continuity, the stability, so making sure that the project is well organized, that it keeps going, that it keeps growing, facilitating onboarding, creating a more diverse community, like trying to expand, so to make sure that we are well funded. So with Blender being so largely successful, it's also natural to get a little bit stuck in the process and to take a more conservative approach to development. So the idea is to enable more experiment, research, and development, and to keep the purpose in mind. So making Blender for small teams and individuals, and to provide the world with the freedom to create.
And for what it's worth, this is a wonderful news knowing that Blender is in safe hands. And I kind of think that this was foreshadowed with all of the posts that was happening and Francesco Seed being the one that signed off on most of them. So previously it was mostly like Ton Rosendale doing the sign off on most of the posts, but over time we've seen that Francesco Seed seems to be the one that signs off on most of them. And it is really, really nice. And I'm rooting for him and the entire new executive members of Blender and the overall Blender team. And you might be wondering, what will Ton be doing? Ton at this point will be within the supervisory board, making sure that things work according to plan, and he will be a little bit away from the whole administrative stuff. And like I mentioned for Francesco, he has paid his dues, and this man is a legend and deserves all the flowers that he can get, as he has actually worked with all of the members he has and built Blender to what it is now. And speaking about him building Blender to what it is now, Blender 5 seems to be coming with some very cool stuff that is not yet in the release notes. And one of them has to do with physics. So physics nodes seems to be coming to Blender. And this has been teased with Blender 5, the alpha, and hopefully we will be getting this with the final version of Blender. And you can see that with this tease, there's just a whole lot of things happening with it. Now, I have no idea if this is just going to be coming with the whole, bundles and closure sort of thing. Maybe they're going to make a tiny little node for that we can work with that exists with the asset browser, or if this is going to be a completely new node that will work within the simulation section. But for what it is, the tease which was done with Blender 5.0, the alpha, shows that there is a physics node that now exists with Blender, and these can support both rigid body, float simulation, like what you can see here, and we've also got hair and some soft bodies. And what this simply means is, if this is anything to go by, we will be able to have procedural destructions. Of course, there's a couple of add-ons that does things like that, but having these baked into geometry nodes and having it work with physics will be amazing. At the same time, having procedural clothing simulation, having procedural soft body simulation would also be really cool, and having a physically accurate procedural hair system would also be amazing. And also speaking about 5.0, probably this is not going to be happening with this version, or might be. We're also seeing that we might be getting some story tools. Now, the story tools would help 2D animators and also 3D artists to be able to tell their stories a bit more by simply using Grease Pencil inside of Blender. Of course, we've already seen some good features with Grease Pencil, but they're trying to build some good tools that will allow for visual storytelling, whether it's by storyboarding or by simply doing a frame-by-frame animation. Hopefully, we'll start seeing teasers about it when these get public, and we already know that both the Grease Pencil and geometry nodes are super amazing as independent tools. And when they come together, they do create amazing looking piece, like one that was also teased from Daniel Lara. Of course, we've seen a couple of cool stuff with geometry nodes alongside Grease Pencil, and having these tools get more updates will provide more set of tools for creators to make more amazing piece. And for those who like to check out when Blender 5.0 will be announced, the beta will be coming out on the 1st of October, pre-release will be happening on November the 5th, and the full release will be happening on November the 11th. Of course, we've talked about some of the release notes and stuff that you can check out that is currently available right here, and we did mention things like cycles. Cycles will be having some very cool updates to it in the previous videos. We talked about Nano VDB coming. We also mentioned that CUDA will be having a minimum requirement at this point, and we're also seeing some other cool features right here. And for those that were asking about DLSS, we did mention that DLSS was being teased at the C graph. Of course, if you simply go over to 5.0 right now, you go all through, these are not here, but seems to be coming, and it would be nice to see these features in 5.0. And speaking about things that we're yet to see within the release notes, there is a new feature, or a set of new features that will be coming to the Compositor. And one of them is node groups alongside an asset shell. And this was one of the things that was talked about when the Blender conference actually started off. And the 5.0 set of tools that will be coming are powerful yet simple tools that would definitely let you create amazing looking compositions instead of spending so much time wiggling with nodes and trying to figure out how to create things like chromatic aberrations and all of that stuff. And of course, we've seen some impressive updates come over to the Compositor over the past 2 or 3 years. And having the asset browser alongside node groups make their way to the Compositor in 5.0 will be super amazing. And here's Andrew Price talking about it during the Blender conference.
Yeah. All right, guys, discovered something very cool at the Blender conference. So the Compositor, right? It's confusing. You want to do a simple thing like a lens flare or a, grain or anything like that, and you got to deal with all this crap. 5.0 will come with little nodes you can drag out that are preset, ready to go, and they work in real time. So that's halftone. Then we've got film grain, right? Look at this, and it's animated as well.
Yeah, you
increase the grain size.
Press the animate.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
But look, you can do that.
Yeah.
And look, you've even got night vision. Check out this.
Whoa.
What? No. Very cool. And then VHS. So it's basically turning Blender into like Red Giants, like presets. So you don't have to deal with all the complex nodes and stuff. You just have the effect and it just works.
Yeah. We want to make compositing much more simple.
Chromatic aberration, look at that. And then you've got more options. You can change direction blur.
Yeah.
You can heighten it. So you got these handy controls. The sample, lens dispersion. Look at that. So everyone's going to overuse this.
Yeah, of course.
Every beginner will be doing this, but it is cool.
Something else which was also teased is the iPad version of Blender might be coming with 5.0 as well. Of course, Tom just glazed around it during the conference. Most probably we might be seeing an initial beta very soon, and 5.0 might be the first one to be shipped. And so there is just a lot of things that is happening with Blender 5.0, and hopefully the teasers that we saw will make it to Blender 5.0. Now in another news, if you simply go over to blender.org, you would notice that the Blender Foundation annual report for 2024 is now here, and this report covers a lot of things. So This report talks about literally everything that you need to know about Blender and all that transpired in 2024, from the financial report all the way to the vision, the mission, how many tools were released last year, the projects they were working on, the parties they hosted, the events they hosted, and literally every single thing you need to know. Last year alone, about 3 variants of Blender 4 was released, and these came with some nice projects, which includes the extension platform, which is one that I think everyone should actually hop on if you would like to get some free tools. They did release the GPU-based Compositor, which is also another amazing thing. Eevee Next was also available with last year's releases. We've got the brush asset, which was also there. Then the Grease Pencil 3.0 was also available with last year, which is one of those projects, and sculpting performance has been increased by 5 to 8 times. Last year, we saw a couple of workshops. We dealt with the geometry nodes. We saw some for animation. We saw some for the sequencer, the online assets, the future of overrides, and so on and so forth. So if you like to get a good read out of this, you can simply come through and check it out. Now, within the area of finances, they did mention a nice set of reports that has to do with creators supporting and also companies supporting. Now, if you go by the 2024 reports, you would notice that, finances from companies look pretty nice. By 2025, things are not looking exactly as they were with 2024, as during the conference, Ton also mentioned this. On the flip side, Blender users seems to be the ones donating more in 2025. Which is a good thing, because most of these companies, they sort of donate once or twice just to have that integration and possibly have a good handshake with Blender, and after that they just simply bounce. However, that might not necessarily be the story for 2025, owing to the fact that the graph that we have here was prior to the conference. Now, before the conference, we got some companies leveling up and actually donating some good amount of money. Pico was one of them. They were also one of the official sponsors of the Blender conference. Then we've got Wacom leveling up. And of course, we also talked about the folks at Bolt Graphics. Yes, one can say that, these companies sort of replaced the other one, but I would like to say that I'm super happy about the donation that we're getting from the community, alongside the donations that are now available, as 2025 seems to be looking pretty good for Blender. And of course, this spells one thing, that if there's any way to go, it is up. And of course, if you'd like to know the team behind Blender, from the operational team to administrative team, developers, creators, animators, and all of that, you will definitely find a long list that just simply details everyone here and how they play a role to making Blender better every single day. And this brings us to talking about some of the presentations that were done during the conference. As during the conference, there were a good set of presentations that were done by both indie creators and studios. And if you're just wondering what you can watch to get super informed about Blender and see the possibilities that it offers, then you can come through and binge watch all of this, as Blender has been used in bringing concept to life in studios like Framestore, and this was also part of the cogs that was used in creating Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And for those who are thinking about the future of extended reality for development and all that stuff, there is a presentation for you. And if you're a solo artist and you're just wondering, how can I get up to speed, learn some stuff, do some stuff, how can I work with facial character animation for stylized characters, or possibly you're just trying to get into visual production, then there are wonderful presentations right here that can get you going. One other cool presentation that is also here is one that deals with noodle-based rigging, and this is something that has been anticipated to come to Blender. However, this has a workaround for it, so if you just want to see how this works, possibly you want to compare this with KineFX, a set of tools coming from Houdini, then you can come through and take a look at this one and see how this is done. The last time we talked about the updates that were available for Blender, we talked about the OK Go, and of course we talked about the project file that was also available for creators to download and explore. Right now, you can actually see behind the scene how this was put together and follow up with the presentation that shows all of that. Love, Death and Robot also has a sprinkle of Blender around it. And for sure, if you're into robotics, cinematics, car design, maybe you're thinking about getting into car production and stuff, you like to see how Blender actually plays a role in all of these, or possibly you like to get some cheat code for rigging, then there is a wonderful presentation right here. So if you're just thinking about, what can I binge? Maybe I want to learn something for Blender. I want to learn and possibly follow up with some of the cool things creators are doing with Blender. Then this is a wonderful one, and I would definitely recommend that you check it out. And speaking about things that you should check out, the folks at SuperHive are currently doing sales right now, and this is running out. So if you're thinking about getting add-ons, models, surfacing tools, modifier setup, render setup, tutorials, and even more stuff, then these might just be the right time for you to come through and grab all of them. Now, we've made a couple of videos that actually shed some light to tools and generators and stuff like that, but for what it's worth, if there's any tool that you like to get right now on SuperHive, I think this is the best time that you should come and get it, as this is running out in a couple of days. So just in case you like to save up on that bulk and actually get this, then I'm going to put a couple of links in the description that can help you get started with stuff that you're looking for. And these will be segmented based on various tools, and you can go through the description and find this for yourself. So this is it. 5.0 is coming, and some cool stuff right here. And of course, a huge shout out to the brand new team. Tell me what you guys think about this one in the comment section. And of course, if you like this video or you learned something from this, you can go ahead and give a like, and don't forget to share with a friend. And until I see you guys in the next one, peace.